Welcome, everyone. It's time for another Athearn Extra. Wanted to take some time and talk to you guys about a new model that we've been working on. We did a soft announcement at Amherst. In fact, we even brought a 3D example to the show. And there was a lot going on at Amherst, let's be honest. The weather was just one of them. And so maybe you didn't get a chance to hear John's talk about these cars. Maybe you didn't even get a chance to look at the cars themselves. Maybe you're not even aware. We wanted to make you guys aware, have more of a time where we can actually talk about the models. And so I asked Janik, who is the product developer at Athearn. He's the primary guy that's been working on these for the last few years. And he is the guy that knows all the information. So I hope you enjoy this. I'm going to bring Janik on here in a second, and we're going to talk about these new ARLX reefers. Now, I know some of you guys are catching us online right now, and we do appreciate it. So let's go ahead and give a few rounds of shout outs to those that are joining us tonight. I see Icon sees Mr. No 7300. That is a catchy name. We've got Brandon here. Southpaw is also joining us. Brandon. We've got Sid from Ohio is here, and Rogan, as well as Jacob. So we got a few guys on board. Now, if you're catching us after the fact, if you're catching us on our YouTube channel and you do enjoy content like the Athearn Extra, do us a favor, like and subscribe, hit the notification bell. That way you're notified every time a new video like this drops into your feed. And of course, please comment. Both myself as well as the Athearn product developers do enjoy the interaction, and we like to see what kind of questions and or comments you have. Let's do one more round of shout outs. We've got about 52 folks that are showing up right now. We've got Tim, Bradford, George, Todd, B.N. Green, 1970 is here. Jim from Vermont is here. Eric, are you a slacker? I'm a Gen X, but I'm not a slacker. Good evening, Jim from Train Glen is here. Greg and Brian Wilkinson. Thank you so much for joining us and taking some time out of your busy schedule. And let's get started on this special Athearn Extra. So like I said, we did a soft introduction of these cars at the Amherst show this past January, but we had some technical difficulties. We had a lot of snow, so a lot of you may have missed this. And I wanted to talk to Janik and say, hey, Janik, could you come on board and just give us a really good historical lesson on these cars and maybe share some images with us on the PD perspective of these cars. So without further ado, I want to invite Janik on board here and add him to the stage. Hey, good evening, Janik.
Howdy, Jim.
What you got there?
Got our new ARLX Reefer 3D printed sample right here.
That is amazing. That's the first time that I think we've done that, isn't it, Janik?
I think it's the second. I have an STP40F sitting on my shelf from a few years ago, and it's pieces keep breaking off of it because I don't know what we used, but it's really rough. But yeah, no, this is if anyone was wondering if 3D printing is impacting how quickly these things get to market and get designed, it's happening and it's helping.
That's really cool. So, Janik, you've been working on this since day one, correct? This is your project.
Yeah, so I was at work one day, just minding my own business. And then John calls me up. He's like, Janik, I need your help. Our 40-foot steel reefer, it's the old blue box one, it's kaput. It's run its course, the tooling, it's not usable anymore. We need something to replace it with. And I said, well, I've got this book right here, Railway Prototype Cyclopedia number 21. I don't know if when they shut down the office in Long Beach, I made sure to grab all these and keep them in my work collection here. And in this neat little book here is an article on the Armour refrigerator line steel reefers. And I said, Armour's big. They were coast to coast at one point. Everybody was eating Armour meats. So this would be a good one for us. And that's what kicked it off.
Wow. So one of the things that you touched on is, some of the older tooling that we had gone bad. And so really this gave you the opportunity to not only do a car that maybe hasn't really been, it's been overlooked, I think we agree to say, but now you get to start a project from the ground up. So you kind of really, you have to get immersed in the subject and really study the subject before you can really start doing the tooling, right?
Yeah, and I knew nothing about these cars going into it. I had to make sure I learned everything I could know about it, other than seeing hot dogs on the shelf. That was about the extent of my knowledge. That old blue box car, I think it was a PFE prototype. Leave a comment if you know what that car was supposed to be. But that car, for its day, it was a 40-foot plastic steel reefer. It did the job.
Sure.
But we wanted to come back and give something that was more in line with the current Athearn brand standards. And that means a bit more detail than what you might see on some of our other older cars, separate roof walks, separate ladders, stuff that people are expecting on freight cars these days.
How long did this, deep dive into these cars go for you? How many nights of research? Because this is something you just don't look at the surface and say, we're going to do this car and that's the end of it.
I wasn't keeping track of the individual days. The article itself is 10 or 15 pages worth of information. And it was a big help. It told me all the rosters, all the numbers, all the dimensions of the doors, the ends, and all that stuff. It was a big help. And I kind of was working on this on the side, and I had it on the back burner. And then one day it's just like, hey, we need something new that we can crank out relatively quickly. What do we got? Oh, hey, I've got this Armour Reefer right here. Here it is. This is I want to say less than a year it took to get this in my hand. And that's from the first talking about, hey, we should do this, to here it is in my hand. That's pretty good, I think.
Yeah. I
think it's, we can do better going forward, I'm sure, but I think that's pretty good right now.
Yeah, that is amazing. I mean, the 3D sample I know at Amherst really, no shade to our creative crew whatsoever, but it is kind of hard for me anyways as a modeler to look at just a one-dimensional drawing or a picture. But when you actually have a three-dimensional, even if it's just a prototype, you have a much firmer grasp on, okay, this is where we're going. This is what we're doing. So that was a huge help for everybody at Amherst. I mean, tell us a little bit about these cars. These are reefers that fit in the late 40s and 50s. These still had bays for the ice too, correct, Janet?
Yeah, so these were built in late 1948, early 1949. There was 2,000 of them, split between GATC for 1,000 and ACF for 1,000, but they were basically the same. And they were the only steel cars that Armour ever bought. They leased a bunch of steel cars too, but these were the only ones they ever owned. And the time period for these is actually pretty decent for steel ice reefers. They lasted into the mid 60s. And what's interesting too is that they didn't really get replaced by mechanical reefers, at least from what I could tell. They just kind of got phased out, and the whole industry is what changed. Really, the meatpacking industry is kind of what put these cars out of use.
So yeah, you're kind of by the mid 60s. You're kind of looking at a totally different way of refrigeration. Onboard refrigeration with gen sets versus loading up those end bays with ice. So these were really the last of their kind, weren't they, Janet?
They came out, I think, the mid to late 1950s, and I'm not a reefer expert. Insert joke here for quoting that, but I think mid to late 1950s is when the roads really started to look at mechanical refrigeration seriously. And one of the big reasons why they were doing that, and I know at least on the Santa Fe, is that the ice reefers just couldn't keep the food cold enough. Going across the desert, 100 degrees plus, the ice reefers couldn't maintain the temperature. Even if they were iced every 100 miles, they were insulated to the nines. They just couldn't. So the mechanical refrigeration is what solved that.
Janik, I've got one, and I do want to let our viewers know, I'm watching the live comments while Janik is talking about these cars. If you have a question, feel free to put it in the comments. If I catch it or Janik catches it, we'll put it up here and let Janik ask. Bradley is actually asking a really good question, and this is a question I get from time to time on Train Tuesday, but let's hear it from product development. You're talking about the speed and development to prototype. Would you guys please speak to the production challenges? Some may also notice other model railroad companies get to market faster. What are some of the challenges we face, Janik?
I think when you look at us compared to some of the other companies, Athearn, and especially Athearn tooling in general, a lot of it dates back to the 1960s, the 1970s. A lot of it's still in use in some form or another. And I'd say that one of the things that takes us some time is the tooling reaches a point where we could technically keep going with it, but there's going to be a lot of handwork, a lot of cleanup work, a lot of flash, and it's not really going to be economical. And once we get to that point, we have to decide, what are we going to do? Are we going to retire this and replace it with something else? Is it going to be something that is more complicated, nicer, a different prototype? All these questions versus, and I'm not saying it's always like this, but other companies, what I've seen is they come out with new models. They aren't replacing older models that are in their line already. They're coming out with new models. They might save a little bit of time by not having to go through that process that we do quite a bit.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I mean, Athearn has been around, well, this year is our 80th anniversary. So we've been around for a long time. We have a lot of what I guess we call legacy tooling. And some of the advantages to some of the younger companies out there, they make a fine product, but they can start from scratch. And I know you and I have heard John say sometimes it's harder to adapt older tooling to meet the expectations of our modelers with new lighting features and details than it is to just start fresh. And in this case, that's kind of what you were up against. I mean, the tooling for the original reefers was questionable at best. So you just bit the bullet and just started a new model.
Yeah, this is a brand new model. It shares nothing with those old cars, except wheel sets, maybe, if you want to be technical. That there's no relation to the old car, and that was, it made things easier, I think, to do it that way, rather than trying to modify something and bring it up to the standards of today.
Sure. And the other thing, a lot of you watching this, you may not know, Athearn's a relatively small team. We have currently right now 3 product developers. We've got 3 guys that do our creative work, and I'm marketing. So we're a small team. People think that since Horizon owns us, we're the big dog on the block. We're not exactly a big team. And the thing that Janik's not telling you is he's not spending all of his time just on this one car. He has multiple projects. In fact, Janik's responsible for everything that comes out this year in the announcements. So there's a lot of things that you've got to measure your time with to get multiple projects on time.
Definitely. There was a question I just saw in the chat from Ted Andrews, and I think it's a great question. He's asking, how many of these Armour cars would one see in a typical train back in the 1940s, 1950s? I actually have, this is the last page of that Railway Prototype Cyclopedia, and it says, routing of ARLX and Armour leased refrigerator cars, eastbound Missouri Pacific train number 70, March 25th and 26th, 1959. And looking at train 70 on March 25th, there were 10 ARLX or TRAX leased cars out of 57. And on the next day, I'm not going to count all these, 25 out of 78 ARLX or TRX cars. So, I mean, that tells you right there, these things were blocks of these things on these trains, most likely.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there you go. When these get announced, you can probably bet that we're gonna announce more than just one road number. We're gonna.
Oh, we have lots of numbers. Yeah, we're gonna have multi-pack as well. So.
And not just for this run too. One of the things that you need to consider is how many additional announcements we can do in the future. And it sounds like this car is a pretty solid performer as far as that's concerned.
Definitely. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. If folks, like I said, both Janik and I are watching, we can see the comments. So if you got a question about these new reefers, go ahead and put them out there and we will, Janik will answer them, and maybe any other odd bits of history that you might have on these cars. We certainly are available to take those questions and answers as well.
So I'm going to talk a little bit more about the prototypes, and then I think we should move on and look at the models.
Okay, sounds like a plan.
Videos. Yeah. Someone was asking how long did these cars last, and I did, yes, I did get that information recorded down here. As I mentioned before, the changing labor practices, and I don't remember verbatim what it was, but the meatpacking industry, it fundamentally changed in the 1960s, and they went to a lot of cheaper on-site labor. I'm sure a lot of you guys out there who are older than me remember more about that. I wasn't around for it, but that's what I read. So these cars, the 1900 of the 2000. So, what's that? That's 100. Only 100 had been retired in 1961.
Wow.
But by 1965, only 254 of them were left. So that's your time period right there, 1948 to 1965, thereabouts. They were a 40-foot all steel reefer. They had really short doors, 6 foot 4 inches high. That was because they all had meat racks overhead. 4 ice hatches in the corners. They had these control valves on the ends for the brine tanks, for the ice brine tanks, and we've got those on the model. You'll see those. And like I said, 1,000 built by GATC, 1,000 built by ACF, but the cars were basically the same as far as we're concerned. So that's a little bit more about the prototypes. If you guys have any other questions, let us know. Tomorrow too.
Let's see. Somebody asked. Now I got to find. Oh, David Green wanted to know: will the models have doors and hatches that open?
These will not have doors or hatches that open. At least not right now. Like this is still in the prototyping stage too.
Sure.
This is the first time that we've seen this thing come out from what we put into it. We could still make changes to it. I don't think we're going to have opening doors. The hatches are a possibility. We could look into it. I don't know. You guys let us know if that's important or not. I see reefers running with the hatches open. I know that they do it for ventilation. I know that was done sometimes. I don't know if that was done on the meat reefers too much, though. I know that was done more for the produce reefers.
Here's one from Casey. This is a good question. Asking about 3D printing and does that eliminate the need for molds and help with production speed? What's your comment on that?
It doesn't eliminate the need for the molds. The 3D printing right now, what we're doing with it, it's for the prototyping stage. It's for the tooling review and revision. Once we've approved all that, it'll get tooled up from metal tooling. That 3D printing is still not on the level where we can crank them out the way that injection molded plastic can crank them out. We might get there someday, but right now that would be just too dang expensive. And the quality has gotten a lot better, 3D printing. It's still not quite there with injection molding, I would say.
we also noticed, or John noticed more than anybody, is as beautiful as it is, it's extremely delicate.
Oh God, I've already broken two of the stirrups.
Yeah. Some of them didn't. Some of the TSA agents were less than kind to our models on the way to Amherst, but yeah, they tend to be delicate. Just it's the nature of the plastic they use in 3D printing. Is it? I mean, maybe it's possible to say it's plausible in the future that may change, but for right now, yeah, we're still heavily reliant on the molds and such.
Right.
You said you had some pictures you wanted to share. I can put those up now if you like, Janet.
Let's smash up the pics of the model. I think
All right.
people want to see this thing. Yeah.
Let's see what we got here. There we are. Whoops. All right. Wow. So this is the same model that we had at Amherst, obviously. But
yeah, there is only one. I've got it now, and that's the first one out. And the great thing too about this is they use different colors for the body and then for all the separate parts. So you can easily see what's the body and what's the separate parts.
Lots of details.
Yeah, when I envisioned this project originally, I actually was not going to put some of these details on it.
Oh, wow.
But I'm kind of glad that they did because it looks great. It really does.
It really does.
That shot there, you can see it is a separate metal etched roof walk. And the brake platform is also etched metal. And then you also see the brine control valve, which is that tube to the right of the brake equipment on the end there. There's one of those on each end. That's to control the brine tanks for the ice. And you see the metal grab irons on the ends and the sides there. Those look good.
And one of the things, coupler pocket, standard size coupler pocket, I'm assuming.
You know, it's actually not. And I don't want to mince words here because John was the one who worked on that part of it more than I did. But I'm just looking at it. I know what a standard coupler pocket looks like. This is a little bit narrower. This is more scale.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. And I think it's going to work fine with McHenry's. It'll work fine with your Katie's. It's not going to be like those. I still remember those Trinity hoppers when they first came out. I think it was 2000, 2001. You could not use any other couplers with them other than what came with them. That wasn't great, but.
That's cool that these are going to have more of a closer draft gear box. I mean, that's really cool. That's something that we usually see in the Genesis line, but this Athearn car is, I can see, you know, there are some details that we've not put on basically because we're trying to keep it within the Athearn line. I think it's a good selection for the Athearn line, but this is way more detailed than our previous models.
Yeah, if you think of like an Athearn SD40 or SD40-2, those are nice models. They've got a lot of details added. And this is kind of on that level for what you'd expect to see. The main things that we did leave off would be the cut levers and the train lines. And those are things that can be added easily by most people if you want to add them.
Yeah, that is. It's really exciting to see, and I'm glad that, like you said, the parts are kind of done in different colors, so it really makes the details pop out, probably even more so than a finished model. You can really get to see all the work that you've put into these.
Definitely, yeah.
It's just a really nice, and I mean, when I saw it at the Amherst, I was, you know, at first I was just like, you know, it's not my era. It's not what I would normally model. So I'm thinking, yeah, okay, cool. It's a Reefer. Somebody's going to like it. And then I saw it at the show and I was like, wow, this is really, I'm probably going to find a way to justify running one of these because these are really cool.
You're gonna want to buy a block of them too. You're not going to stop at one.
Right. Let's see. I just saw a question. We kind of touched
about what the details are made out of.
I think so. Yeah, here we go. And that's a great question about the details. Will they be on the finished model? Will they be plastic or metal?
Yeah, so what you're seeing there in the photo, I think, is more or less been finalized as far as the materials. It's a combination of metal and plastic. You've got a metal roof walk, the metal brake platform, and then you've got a couple metal grab irons on the sides and the end. And the balance of the details are plastic, but like really fine plastic. Like they did an incredible job. And this is 3D printed, so
yeah,
it's just going to get better.
Yeah, I was really impressed with the looks. Here's one with just the body off the frame, and it's just. I was amazed for kind of touching on what you said, the 3D printing. I was amazed at how the ladders came out. That was just. I didn't think you could do that with 3D printing. So I'm a very ignorant apparently about 3D printing.
No, I didn't think you could do that small, and I thought it would just fall apart in your hands. Yeah, but apparently.
Oh, I don't know. We'll have to think of a way to.
Oh, I'm more of a tea person, so I'll take a strong green tea maybe.
I was thinking before the show, maybe we should do. You have some modules, of course. I've got the layout. Maybe we should start instead of cars and coffee, we should have trains and tea.
There you go. That's
just
nice.
Run trains and talk trains.
It's nice and proper, yeah.
So this is an interesting shot, and it really kind of shows what goes into, why you guys are starting to do 3D printing. You're kind of, it's giving you a real world example on how things fit. Is that a true assessment?
Absolutely. You see all those holes down the middle for the roof walk there. You see the holes in the corners for the hatches, and there's dimples for the stops on the roof where the hatches open so they don't hit the roof. All that stuff's got to be checked out, and it's got to be sized correctly. And if you got a 1 millimeter peg that does not fit into a 1 millimeter hole, you got to have tolerances that are correct for that. And John knows way more about that than I do. He helped out with that aspect of it. But this thing fits together really nicely right now, and it's just going to get better with the finished one. It
really is. There's the metal etched roof walk you're talking about. Wow, is that gorgeous?
They did a great job. And another couple things on the roof I didn't mention earlier. You've got the corner grabs above the ladders, and you've also got the grab irons on the hatches themselves, and they're tiny, but they're there, and those are metal pieces as well.
Yeah, doing those corner grabs by scratch. I mean, I'm not saying it can't be done, but it's not easy. And they're already done for you here on this model. You can see them there on the corners. It's absolutely gorgeous.
Remember those Walthers passenger cars? You'd have to put all those grabs on them yourself, and I usually just threw them away because there's no way I'm ever gonna do this. I just don't have the wherewithal or the schedule.
Right? So. Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, I saw earlier somebody was asking for the blue box models, and we're not going to do that. And we've talked about it a lot, but that kind of brings back memories. It's like that was a lot of the work and a lot of the stuff you had to do with a blue box model. And here, for we haven't really talked about the pricing on these, but for the price, I mean, it's going to be done for you. It's going to be decorated. I mean, really, the only thing you got to do is maybe do some weathering on it.
I'm glad you mentioned the price, because one of the key aspects of the Athearn line is to keep the price as reasonable as possible. Genesis go all out with the details, and kind of sometimes the price is what it is. That's the price you pay for the details. But for the Athearn, it's actually harder, because you got to say, what do we put on? What do we leave off? And where's that pricing sweet spot with these? I think we've hit it. You guys will see tomorrow. I looked at the price, and I was like, okay, that's fair. So I hope you guys agree when you see it tomorrow. Obviously, it's MSRP too, so keep that in mind. I don't, Jim, you're blue in the face for saying that one. But
Yeah, and you kind of the cool thing is you let everybody that's here live right now, they already know what one of the announcements is going to be tomorrow. You and I have been talking about this. This is great because we showed it last month at a show. We're talking about it in detail now. And if you're getting excited about these, keep in mind tomorrow pre-orders are going to open on these, and you'll see what roads Janik offered for the first run. And yeah, we tried to keep the prices as reasonable as possible. And keep in mind, just like Janik just said, it's MSRP. We want you to go through your dealer. We're a dealer network company, and your dealers are going to have better prices than going straight to Athearn. So just remember, those are MSRP. Let's see. I think I got some more pictures here. Oh, wow. I forgot about this picture. This is great.
they did a great job with the brake details. It is plastic, and I don't know how many pieces it is based on this. It might be only a couple pieces, but they did a great job with it. I worked with John to thin up like those mounts for the main reservoir. We thinned up those mounts to make them more fine scale. It looks great. You can see it too when the car's on the track. It's not like those new box cars with the side sills that hang all the way down. You can definitely see the brake gear on these when they're sitting on the track.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I was amazed when I saw them at Amherst. You know, and that's the beauty of the Athearn models. I mean, I think a lot of us that are into Fremo or some type of operations, I know for myself, as small as my layout is, I'm pretty much an Athearn freight car guy because it's a good compromise between detail, price, and not over detailed, so that when somebody is operating, they don't accidentally, hook the one of those detail parts and knock it off or something like that. So I think these being in the Athearn line is just a perfect fit.
I run a lot of clubs. I carry my stuff around, and I always find a few train lines broken off in my boxes.
Yeah.
Just any time that I take my stuff, the train lines fall off.
Yeah. Rodney's got a good question here. He says, "Will we have 3-packs and separate cars?"
Yeah, absolutely. These will be available in 3-packs and multiple road numbers. If you want to build a block of 25, I don't know if we have quite that many, but you'll be well on your way with what we're offering. And this is just the first run.
Yeah, the first run, we've got a pretty good selection. And, based on what you were reading earlier about, how many were in a train, I think a lot of modelers are going to be able to actually complete that in a pretty realistic setting. So, very cool. So
the good thing about 40-foot cars, you can fit more of them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, talking more about the subject of these cars, a lot of us do think about them being in blocks on trains from point A to point B, but we're still in the transition era. The truck hasn't quite taken over yet. So is there in your research, did you find, were these cars ever spotted one at a time, two at a time to different industries, or were they always in blocks?
Going through the pictures in the book here, it varied. On the first page of the article, you've got a string of 7. Not all of them are ARLX cars. I think 2 of them are the 7. Then on the next page, you got one of them that's spotted by itself. It says at one of the major meatpacking facilities in the Midwest. So I think for the most part, they ran in blocks. And then once they got closer to destinations, probably they split them off into smaller groups or singles even. I don't know too much about packing house sightings or how long they usually were. I've never seen one. Ask me about grain elevators or feed mills. I've seen tons of those. But
the only thing I can tell you, and don't take anything I'm saying as fact. I'm just basing it on what I call rail archaeology. Up in Galesburg, Illinois, there is a somewhat famous restaurant called the Packing House. The reason why it's called the Packing House is it used to be the Swift meat packing facility. And of course, it's right by the main line in Galesburg, right by the Amtrak station. So a lot of rail fans go there, including myself. And a little bit of research, you could probably see at one time, it wouldn't be too stretch of the imagination for a couple of these cars at least to be spotted at that facility. I mean, it's too much of a coincidence for a meat packing plant to be, built that close to the main line. So that's where I'm going with it. Maybe somebody out there that either knows or has done some research on it can let us know in the comments. But
another one is the icing. If you're going to ice up a bunch of these things, you're going to want them in a block. Otherwise, it's going to take forever, no matter what. But it's going to take double forever if you have them all split off in different trains or different places on the train. You're going to want them in a block.
Absolutely. I mean, it's one of those things. So even if you've got a small, switching layout, like a lot of us do, a lot of us are in rental situations or something like that, you can still partake of these. There's nothing that says you can't model, within the 50s and 60s to add these to your switch list. So a lot of good comments here. A lot of folks are really happy about the multi-packs that we're also doing. Eric's got a comment of maybe doing 6 and 12 packs in the future.
Oh man, I don't even think we have a box that would work for 6-pack, but hey, boxes are easy to make compared to tooling.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely something we can think about. I mean, we have offered pretty good size packs in the past of other cars. So
we did 5 packs of the sugar beet cars, and
that's right. Yeah,
people like those.
Let's see, George. I think you covered this question already, but George might have showed up later. Not quite, huh? You said 65.
Well, there were 254 left in 65.
Oh, okay.
I'm not going to say that none of them lasted into the 70s. I bet a few of them did, but man, they would have been on their last legs, and they were definitely gone by the 70s. And they could have been in company ice service or maintenance away. And I know one of the roads that picked these up was Chicago Great Western. They picked them up for company ice service.
Now, when you say company ice service, was that used for like their passenger service, or what was the ice used for?
That could have been one of them. I think the air conditioning on those passenger cars was all run by ice for a time. But also maintenance away use and ice houses. You got to have ice get to the ice house somewhere. You got to have a reefer full of ice, maybe, or just park it somewhere.
We've also used, it's something that we don't always think about, but I'm sure you could even justify them as an old maintenance away car for if you were modeling later. I don't know if you saw anything like that in your research.
Just the ones that went to CGW. I don't know if any other ones went to company ice service or no service. That stuff wasn't well documented, especially at that time. People weren't really shooting a lot of that stuff. But I'll bet there's photos out there somewhere.
Yeah, Stephen just commented, said that he saw an Armour Reefer in Providence, Rhode Island, back in the 1970s. Might have been abandoned there. I guess that's possible. Hopefully Stephen got some pictures of it. Harold is saying that he models the 60s to present day. The steel Reefer car looks great. Thank you for that.
Yeah, at least I didn't. I didn't usually think of steel Reefers in the 1960s. I always, and maybe this is on me, but I always assumed that they were mostly gone by the mid to late 50s. But the transition to mechanical was not overnight, and it was expensive up front. And a lot of roads never had any mechanical reefers. Armour, I don't know what they did after these. These were the only steel reefers, so I don't think they had any more after this. But going into the 60s with these cars, it opens up a wider time frame than what you might think.
So talk to me a little bit, Janik, about the manufacturer of these cars, ARLX being the manufacturer. Were these built to Armour specs, or were they just built to the ARLX specs and Armour used them in their fleet?
Well, Armour basically had these built exactly to their specifications. Armour was a meat, first and foremost, a meat packing company. These are meat reefers, and that makes them, at least internally, quite a bit different from produce reefers. The big meat reefer thing was the meat racks along the roofs. That's why the doors on these are so short, because the racks hung down. And like I said, 1,000 built by ACF, 1,000 built by GATC. The cars were basically the same. They were pretty standard for the day. They had something called a depressed panel roof, which was a little bit unusual. And there's some information here in the book about it that I don't have bookmarked. But it's an interesting roof shape. And if you could go back to one of the photos showing the roof, you could see that we've captured that shape.
Okay, I can kind of see it now. Yeah, that is kind of unusual. Do you know the reason for that? Was it something to do with the internal mechanics, or?
Let me get back to you on that one.
Okay.
I had it here, but.
And this just goes to show you guys, this is how much research product development has to do. There is so much information. We're just talking one type of car. And Janik has got piles of research that he goes through. So he knows the answer. He just got to find where that answer is.
I think it was an ACF thing. And somebody who knows more about freight cars could tell me more about it than what I have here. But it was an ACF thing. It was used on some other cars. And it was used on these cars as well.
I think we touched on this a little bit, but Icon wants to let us know where the car is equipped with hanger rails as well as racks.
I don't know what hanger rails are. I'm not going to try and pretend like I do. So, I didn't read anything about them here. So you stumped me with that one. I'm sorry.
Someone asking about what time do our announcements go live tomorrow. Well, they'll probably go live on the website, I believe 8 o'clock a.m. Central Standard Time tomorrow morning. The videos will go live about the same time, around 8 o'clock. So you'll see a new announcement video on these cars. We're sharing a lot of the same pictures, but we're also going to show you what roads we're going to do. The Chicago Great Western cars really caught my attention because I used to live by an abandoned right away of the Chicago Great Western. It seemed like they ordered quite a few of these from the secondhand market, or were they new?
They picked up 11 cars.
Okay.
For ICE service. Yeah.
Wow. So we got a little bit of info coming in from George Emmett. He said in 72, under the Armour Company, there was 2 steel reefers left, 372 and 633. In its refrigerator, there was 4 cars left in 72.
Wow. Well, that's 2 left out of 2,000. So
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. Sid with an interesting comment. This car will sell like hotcakes at IHOP. I can already see that. Yeah, I think so. I think Sid's onto something. I think these are going to really do well because, as we touched upon in the beginning of the show, they've kind of been ignored.
They have been. There was a resin kit of these that came out, and it was available. I don't know if they're still available, but a resin kit, and I think it was a pretty nice kit from what I saw, but a resin kit is not really going to the same market as an RTR plastic model here.
Sure.
So we are bringing these to more people.
That's nice. Yeah, the resin kits, they're nice. But like you said, it's kind of a different, with my schedule, I'm more more inclined to get something that's ready to go.
You've got to really know how to work with that material because it's not forgiving. That's for sure.
Real fan is keeping up with his name. He says, "Hey Jim, hey Janik, long time no see. By the way, I'm watching this with Seeing Amtrak number 5 right now in Emeryville. That's cool.
Cool.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
So the good news about these is we're not just teasing you guys. We are actually going to do these. We're going to announce them tomorrow morning. We've got a video going out. The PDFs will be out. Your dealers already know about these. So by the time you contact your dealer tomorrow morning, they will have already known about these, and pre-orders will be open from starting tomorrow morning all the way to April 24th. And boy, it's just, I'm really amazed at how beautiful these models really turned out. I mean, I'm really excited to see these in production.
The 3D printing of the sample, for me, that was a game changer.
Yeah, it really was. I mean,
do you have any shots of the underframe by itself, or were there none in there? Somebody was asking about the weight of
let's
the
see.
car.
Is this the one you're looking for, Janik?
No, it would be with the body removed.
Oh, I don't think John got me one of those, unfortunately.
That's okay. That's okay. I could put this thing on a scale and tell you what it weighs, but that wouldn't mean anything because the material it's made from is not the same as ABS plastic. But we got a nice steel weight that'll go in these. It's recessed in the floor. It's nice and low. These will be weighed to the NMRA specs for a 40-foot car.
Yeah, very nice.
Maybe a little bit more than that. I kind of like a little bit more than that for most of my equipment.
Yeah, I agree. I kind of like mine a little heavier, but from a factory standpoint, getting these out of the box and they're NMRA standards, that's nice. I mean, at least you don't have to worry about that. Trying to see if we get some other questions here. Getting some really good comments on these cars. Let's see what else we've got. Oh, here we go. Steven's got something. Fully unbutchered carcasses or half carcasses were on hooks that slid aside along the overhead rails in the cars and sometimes through the doors in the receiver facility. Yeah, that makes sense. That's what I've seen at the packing plant up in Galesburg. Probably won't have those details on this car, though.
We don't have any interior details on this one.
Yeah.
Because the doors don't open. So
exactly.
You can imagine that they're there and poof, they're there. So.
There you go. Just like a box car. Yeah, I think George is referencing the resin kit that you were talking about. He's saying that Evermodel HS Scale has them.
Okay.
So
I thought it was by someone else. Evermodel makes that's an interesting company, and I don't know much about them, but they have some stuff for sale, and I don't know much about it, but it's an interesting company.
Yeah, that's again, those types of kits. I highly suggest anyone, if you've not built one, to build one. It takes a little bit of a learning curve. There's a little bit different material to work with than your standard styrene, but yeah. Let's see. We've got Brent says, shout out to Janik for bringing Train Tuesday and the Athearn Live program. Hard to believe it's been 5 years since Athearn started these. Love tuning in every week and listening while modeling. Yeah, I kind of threw you under the bus a couple of weeks ago on Train Tuesday, and I said you were pretty much the inventor of Train Tuesday, because before I came on board, you were doing that in the middle of the pandemic. So,
and I've moved twice since then.
Yeah, you have.
Married, I had a kid. All this stuff.
A lot has changed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, it's and a lot of you may be wondering, why don't you see Janik on a lot of live feeds? And it's because he is so busy and buried. I'm trying to sneak him out a little bit more often, because I like talks like this. I like to have the product developer talk about what they've been working on and present it to you. Because I think a lot of us, myself included, like to get this behind the scenes of, what's going on at Athearn. What are you guys working on?
Yeah, well, and to hear it from me, I'm not an expert on these. I don't feel comfortable saying that, but I am knowledgeable about them. Uh, it's good to hear it from the developer's mouth. You know, what is and is not going to be part of this model. That I can tell you for sure.
Yeah, right. And I mean, it's just, again, we've done it in the past with some other cars. We'll no doubt do it in the future with other projects, locomotives and cars and stuff. But as a modeler myself, I really enjoy seeing what it takes to make these models come to market. You know, in this case, we had a good selling model, you know, but the tooling was gone. The tooling just wasn't going to allow us to carry on. So that gave us the option of coming out with this. And now we've got, not only have we continue those good sales, but we've got a model that stands up to the 21st century modeler.
It does. These details, you know, if you looked at this thing 10 years ago, you'd probably say it's a Genesis. We keep moving the bar up with detail. The industry does, and then everybody else does the same thing, and that's how we get all these nice models. Are they always perfect? No, but a lot of them are really nice compared to what we had 10, 20 years ago.
Oh yeah. Any hints on other hints for tomorrow? Probably these steel reefers.
I'm looking at the whole thing right now, but
are you?
My lips are.
You want to give a hint? I don't think we're going to hurt anybody's feelings if we give a hint.
Well, let's give a hint on the subject. For the Armour, they had two major paint schemes. The first paint scheme was the small rectangle with the star, maroon rectangle with a red star. You guys probably know that one. Then they started painting on the billboard scheme in 1953. We've got both of those schemes on offer for you guys. And they were mixed up too. They weren't all painted. I say this every time I talk about stuff that got repainted. They weren't all painted at the same time. So they were mixed up. And you can run them both together.
Yeah, that sounds like we're going to have plenty of paint scheme options. And yeah, I mean, this is going to be perfect for your transition modelers, you know, for guys that still like to run steam and early diesel. And I'm sure I'm already seeing some comments too. There's some guys that model later. They're still going to figure out a way to justify it. I mean, rule number one, it's your railroad. You can put on it whatever you want. I mean, it doesn't stop us, does it, Janik?
No, and have put these in a maintenance and waste service into the 70s or 80s, or park it on siding. Take the trucks off of it if you need to do that. Whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it's great seeing that. Again, guys, if you've got some questions, now we do want to wrap things up here a little bit because Janik has some other commitments. But first of all, Janik, if I haven't said so far, I do want to thank you for coming on board with me tonight and sharing this information, because I think it's super valuable to our modelers. And I just love to hear what you and John and Robert are working on and bringing it to everybody.
It's good to be back. I know that I'm not going to be back in a regular rotation, but that's okay.
I'm going to try to sneak you in a little bit more often, because I'm kind of spoiled, because you get to show us stuff that I don't get to see. One of the things that if you're watching this, you may not realize is Janik and I don't work in the same office. We all work remotely. So sometimes Janik will send me a picture or something, but so we're going to see if we can try to sneak some more of this kind of video in our Athearn extras in the future. And let us know in the comments what you think. Do you enjoy these kind of videos? Do you like to see what our product development is working on in the interaction? Let us know. If you like it, we'll try to do more of this for you.
More 3D printed first samples. That's what I'd like to see. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, Eric is completely right. If you're not having fun, you're not doing it right. It's awesome. Well, let's see. I'm going to look through here for a few more questions. So here's a kind of a loaded question. What was your big takeaway on these cars? I mean, doing all the research and you said when you started, you literally knew nothing about these cars. Now you've got all this information in your head. But what is the one thing that you can take away that really stands out in your mind about these cars, whether it be the model or the prototype?
For me, it was learning about meat reefers versus produce reefers. I'm in California, and I know a lot about produce reefers because that's all that I've ever seen or ever read about on Southern Pacific and Santa Fe. All the branch lines throughout here, it was all for produce. There wasn't meat. Well, I mean, I'm sure there was some meat packing, but not in the level that we're talking about with Armour. So learning about the differences between produce reefers and the short doors, the meat racks, some of the other features that these had, that was interesting for me to learn.
Yeah, it's something that I don't really, like I said, my exposure to these is really limited. I didn't even know. I guess I would have to assume that, yeah, there were differences, but on the surface, I really didn't know there was that big of a difference between the two types of reefers. But yeah, it makes sense, the way they were handled, the way they were moved from point A to point B. So that's really neat.
Mm-hmm.
I do have one burning question for Mr. Railfan, and he wants to know, and you're the guy to ask this too. Janik, any Caltrain locomotives in the works?
Isn't Caltrain all electric now? I haven't been following it too closely. Anytime that people start talking about Caltrain and then the high-speed rail, which is going to be part of that in the future, it always gets political and it always gets messy. I think they're all electric now.
Really?
Don't quote me on that, though. In fact, I know that they were trying to extend the service south, further south too, to Salinas at one point. But I'm not working on any Caltrain locomotives right now. I'm sorry to say. So I do like Caltrain. I had a photo of a Caltrain F40PH pulling the Coast Starlight. And I'm like, all right, I need to get one of those just so that I can get a rise out of some guys down at the club. Like, what the heck is that? And then to show them the photo, like, hey.
Oh man. Yeah, that's the other thing. If you don't know, Janik is an avid rail fan. Most of our guys are. I'm ashamed to say I'm not as hardcore as I used to be. But Janik and one of our artists, Chris, they're always getting some amazing rail fan shots. So a lot of the stuff, sometimes you'll look in our packets and you'll see actual photographs of the actual prototype. A lot of those are Janik's. Janik is, you rail fan. Is it safe to say at least once a week?
It used to be more.
Wow.
Now that I'm on the coastline, we're lucky if we get a freight train every 6 months. All you got is Amtrak every day.
Oh,
and
wow.
it's not that I don't enjoy that, but it's not quite like how it was in the San Joaquin Valley, where you could go trackside and you never know what you're going to see.
Yeah.
So, but I still go out, when I can. Or my daughter, she'll go with me. She's very afraid of the trains. And I thought to myself, that's actually good. I'd actually prefer that over wanting to get up really close to them, at least at her age. So.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's a real good point. Yeah. No, it's again, we've said it many times before. Yes, we have to make decisions based on how products will sell because we do work in a business, but we are also modelers and rail fans. And ironically, I think it's true to say, Janik, ironically, I don't get as much modeling done as I used to now that I work within the industry, but we still do it as when we can.
It's like it gets combined with the work sometimes. You're like, oh, that's kind of cool. We should produce that. When if you were a modeler, you'd be just making a model of it. But in this case, you're making an actual model of it from scratch in some cases.
Yeah, somebody said, hey, we hope to see John on the next episode. And we will. We'll see John sooner than later. And the problem with John is, I'm sure it's the same with you, Janik, but when John and I start talking, it gets dangerous. There's so much that guy wants to build, and it's We're just limited by time mainly.
He's got so many ideas. We need more Johns.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
We would have so much stuff coming out.
Well, in closing, Janik, is there anything else you'd like to say more about the these ARLX steel reefers?
Well, I want to highlight this is 3D printed. There are revisions coming with these. Some of the ribs on the ends need to be reshaped. A couple other minor things that we need to work on. So it is a prototype. It looks great, but it is a prototype that is going to get fixed up a bit. The opening hatches, we'll look into it. I don't know what that would take, but I think it's worth looking into.
Yeah, that's a good, that's the beauty of the digital age. We can have customers, instead of write and mail us a letter with a suggestion, we get it in real time. And so there you have it. I mean, Athearn does listen. I can tell you our product developer guys listen to your comments and your product suggestions. I know it's a big help for you, Janik, since you're the one that usually, every year you plan the new year of pre-orders. So
I know what I like.
Yeah.
But that is not the same thing as what most other people like. So
yeah,
gotta take that into account when you're making these decisions.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you once again, Janik, for coming on board. This has been a great eye-opening extra about these new reefers. I'm really excited about them. Based on our comments, it looks like a lot of our friends out there are excited about them too. So once again, thank you for coming on board. And I'm going to see what I can do to, have you on board a little bit more often so we can
That'd be great.
Hear what's going on. I enjoy these type of podcasts.
That'd be great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know where to find me. So.
Yes, I do. You may regret that.
Well, thanks to everyone who joined us.
Yes.
Appreciate your time.
Absolutely. For everyone out there, thanks for joining us. Leave a comment and let us know. Again, if you like this, we'll make more videos like this. Until next time, everyone, be happy, be healthy, be safe, do some good modeling, and above all, high greens, everyone. Take care.